Hello everyone. Can you locate India on that globe? Well, I know it is very difficult to locate a place on a globe. But what if I tell you that there is a trick to it? Trick. Yes, in today's video, let me answer the tricky question how to locate any place on that globe. What are latitudes and longitudes? Can anybody heard about latitudes and longitude words? Okay. Our world has a three-dimensional sphere and latitudes are the imaginary lines drawn from west to east. Here north, south, west, east. West, east. The latitudes are lines drawn run from west to east parallel. These lines are parallel with each other. Here is longest line. The longest line in the latitude is called as equator. What is this? Equator. The line that passing through the center of the earth is called as equator. The equator divides the globe into two parts. First one is northern hemisphere. What is this? Northern hemisphere. It is called northern hemisphere. Towards the south pole, it is called southern hemisphere. Southern hemisphere. Towards the south pole called as southern hemisphere. Towards the north pole called as northern hemisphere. The lines in latitudes are measured in degrees. So at equator line, the degree is 0 degree. It is 0 degree equator or latitude. That go up in the number from equator, the numbers are like 1 degree, 2 degree, 10 degree, 30 degrees, and so on, 90 degrees towards the north pole. Towards the north pole. On the other hand, the latitudes going down to the equator. The latitudes going down to the equator is marked in native numbers until they reach towards the south pole. What is this? South pole. Here, this is the equator. Here minus 10 degrees, minus 20 degrees and so on, minus 90 degrees. Below the equator, the lines are measured in negative numbers up to minus 90 degrees. Above the equator line towards the north pole is considered as positive numbers until the plus 90 degrees. So 0 to 90 degrees in northern sphere. Here 0 to 90 degrees in southern hemisphere. So there are total 180 lines or 0 to 180 lines are there in latitudes. How many lines? 180 lines in latitudes. Along with the equator, there are other important latitudes or Tropic of Cancer, Arctic Circle, Tropic of Capricorn and Antarctic Circle. Along the equator is measured in 0 degrees now. Okay, the Tropic of Cancer at 23½ degrees north latitudes. At a 66½ degree north latitude is Arctic Circle. Here at 23½ south latitude is called Tropic of Capricorn. At 66½ degree south latitude is called as Antarctic Circle. So here northern hemisphere 90 lines now. So 66.5 degrees plus 23 degree 1/2 degrees. Total is 90 lines in northern hemisphere. Here south side 23.5 plus 66.5. So total is 90. So 90 lines in southern hemisphere, 90 degrees in northern hemisphere. Total 180 lines of latitudes. These circles or Tropic of Cancer, these lines are help to determine the different climatic zones of the world based on the amount of sunlight a region receives throughout the year. Yes, the region between the tropical lines gets the most sunlight and it is known as tropical zone. This is the tropical zone. Here the climate is warm and humid. Warm and humid. Then the lines between tropical lines and polar circles called as temperate zone. So there are two temperate zones. Here 4 seasons are occurred due to these zones. At circles, polar circles, 2 polar zones are there. Northern polar zone, south polar zone. Here the climate is wintry and snowy. Here the climate is wintry and snowy due to lack of sunlight. Here the sunlight is very low. That's why the polar regions has snow and wintry climate. Now let's look at into the other imaginary lines along with latitudes called as longitudes. As I told about the latitudes, the lines are horizontal. Here the lines are horizontal. The lines which are horizontal are called as longitudes, that starts from the top pole and move a part of the equator just to meet again on the other pole at the bottom. The line stretching at the center is called prime meridian. This line is called prime meridian. Here, like the equator, here the degree is 0 degree. It is also divides the globe into 2 hemispheres. First one is western hemisphere. Second one is eastern hemisphere. Western hemisphere and eastern hemisphere. Like the equator, even this line is marked at 0 degree. There are 360 lines in longitudes. There are 360 lines in longitudes. In western hemisphere, the lines are measured in positive degrees, plus 30 degrees, plus 60 degrees, and so on up to plus 180 degrees. Which goes up towards the western hemisphere, the lines is measured in negative up to minus 180 degrees. These lines help in determine the time zone around the globe, because as you know that when it is night in one hemisphere and day in another hemisphere, it is vice versa. If it is day in hemisphere, eastern hemisphere, night will be in the western hemisphere. If day in western hemisphere, then night will be in eastern hemisphere. It is a vice versa process. The 0 degree longitude that passes through Greenwich near London is considered as a standard, and all the time of other zones are calculated accordingly. How? Let me explain. Here is 0 degree. The next meridian is 1 degree. Here 2 degree. The time difference between the two lines is 4 minutes. 4 minutes. 4 minutes. So, one meridian to another meridian, the time difference is 4 minutes. Based on the country, they follow their standard time. India is followed the Indian Standard Time. According to the country, they followed their standard time. But the question is, how do these help us locate place on the map? The question is, how to locate any place on the globe? Well, the latitudes and longitudes position of any location in the world is known as coordinators. The latitudes and longitudes meet the place is called, it is called coordinators. These are called as coordinates. If longitudes and latitudes are meet at any position, these are called coordinators. Then just look at the latitude of 20 degrees and longitude of 78 degrees and examine where these lines are will be crossed. The lines 20 degrees and latitudes and 78 degrees longitudes will meet. The place is called India. The place is called India. This is the way we can determine any place in the map. Like our earth, the balloon also like a earth. This is the longest line that passing through the center. This is called as equator. The lines which are parallel to equator is called as latitudes. The lines which are horizontal are called as longitudes. These are called as longitudes. Where latitudes and longitudes meets, it is called coordinates. These are called coordinates. Based on the latitudes and longitudes, we can determine the location of any place. Now it's a time to practice. Latitudes and longitudes are dashed lines that run across the Earth's surface. Here the options are 5 latitudes, equator, imaginary, longitudes. What's the answer? Imaginary. Imaginary. Latitudes and longitude are imaginary lines that run across the Earth's surface. Second one, there are dash main lines of latitude. 5 latitudes, equator, imaginary, longitudes. The answer is yes, 5. There are 5 main lines of latitude. Next one, dash lines travel from east to west. Options are 5 latitudes, equator, imaginary, longitudes. What's the answer? Which lines passing from east to west? Latitudes. Latitude lines travel from west to east. Dash lines travel from north to south. 5 latitudes, equator, imaginary, longitude. What is the answer? Longitudes. Yes, the answer is longitudes. Longitudes lines travel from north to south. A dash means half of a globe. What's the answer? Equator. Yes, a equator means half of a globe. A equator means half of a globe. This is Lakshmi signing off. Thank you.